Ladies and gentlemen, we've now reached that part in today's ceremony when, in accordance with the Council resolutions, we honour someone who has done amazingly large work in our community and in the community of the world. We seek to honour Rabbi Raymond Apple, and we're going to confer upon him one of the highest degrees we have in this university, a Doctorate of Laws, honoris causa. And I now call upon our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mark Wainwright, to read the citation.
Thank you, Chancellor. Today we honour Rabbi Raymond Apple, Officer of the Order of Australia, for his eminent service to the law and the community. Senior Minister at Sydney's Great Synagogue for 32 years, he has played a prominent role in many public bodies. He has made contributions to the community as rabbi, as a scholar, as a citizen, and as a leading public personality committed to advancing popular recognition of the common unifying humanity of the world's people. He has been an inspiring and articulate voice, upholding the cause of social inclusion and the mutual respect in our multicultural, multi-religious nation. Born in Melbourne, he studied at the University of Melbourne, receiving the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Laws, before pursuing postgraduate Judaic and Rabbinic studies in London, where he qualified as a rabbi and a teacher. He served as minister at Bayswater and as senior minister at London's Hampstead Synagogue, and in 1972 was appointed senior minister at Sydney's Great Synagogue. While leading that congregation, he served as a prominent spokesman, not simply on issues of Jewish concern, but also in the cause of inclusion, social justice, mutual recognition, and conciliation within Australian society, especially between its various faith communities. He has served as both federal and state president in the Council of Christians and Jews, and as a member of the Australian National Dialogue of Christians, Jews and Muslims. Drawing upon his scholarly expertise in Jewish law and his law degree, he served as a judge and a registrar in the Sydney Beth Din, the Jewish ecclesiastical court. He was ever resourceful in refining ways within traditional Jewish legal practice to humanise its application and its implementation. He is not only an expert technical practitioner, but also a teacher, and since 1991 he has taught Jewish law at the University of New South Wales, and since 1975 he has taught Judaic studies at the University of Sydney. Rabbi Apple served for many years as president of the Australian Jewish Historical Society, and thereafter as its patron. His publications include A History of the Hampstead Synagogue, 1892 to 1967, Making Australian Society the Jews, The Jewish Way, Jews and Judaism in Australia, Francis Lyon Cohen, The Passionate Patriot, The Big Shoe, Essays on the History of the Great Synagogue, and Jewish essays on Christianity. He has also written many academic papers in education, history, biblical studies and religion. He has been a leader in the development of courses and curricula in modern Jewish studies throughout the Australian higher education sector, and in recognition of that work, he has been awarded an honorary fellowship from the University of Sydney. His outstanding contribution to the community has been extremely well recognised. He was awarded the Queen's Silver Jubilee Medal in 1977, Member of the Order of Australia in 1979, Reserve Force Decoration in 1990, Distinguished Alumni Award of the University of New England in 1994, Centenary of Federation Medal in 2001, and was appointed an honorary life member of the New South Wales Council of Christians and Jews in 2004. He was appointed an Officer of the Order of Australia in 2004 for service to the community through promoting interfaith dialogue and harmony, raising awareness of social justice, ethical and spiritual issues, and for service to the Jewish community. He also holds eminent rank in the Freemasonry in New South Wales and the ACT. The University Council, noting his eminent service to the law and to the community, resolved that it would be fitting that the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, be conferred on Rabbi Raymond Apple, Officer of the Order of Australia, Reserve Force Decoration, Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Laws, University of Melbourne, Master of Letters, University of New England, Honorary Fellow, the University of Sydney, and today we admit him to the University's highest honour. Rabbi Raymond Apple, I now ask you to move forward to the Chancellor for presentation of your degree.
In the name of the Council and by the authority vested in me as Chancellor, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. May you and your wife enjoy them in good health for many, many years to come. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, it won't be a surprise to you to know that the occasional address will be delivered by Rabbi Dr. Raymond Apple.
Chancellor, members of the University, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be in such good company this morning and to add my congratulations to all of you who, like me, will leave wearing a new distinction. For my part, let me thank the University most sincerely for the honour that has been bestowed upon me and for the privilege of contributing to the teaching programs of the law school over a number of years. It's a long time ago, and Chancellor, I have to admit that it's not quite 100 years, that I began law studies at the University of Melbourne. But I still remember lecture number 1, when the sub-dean of the faculty shocked us by saying, "A lawyer does not need to know the law." Fortunately, he continued, "A lawyer does not need to know the law, but must know where to find it." It was not long before I discovered that he was not entirely right, but nor was he entirely wrong. And your experience, whatever your field of study, is probably the same as mine. What you take away from university education is not knowledge so much as the tools of knowledge, the capacity to search for the answers yourself. You also take away the mind's eye picture of the scholars who are your university guides. You might not have hit it off with them all, but there are always some whose personality and influence will remain with you. When you're at the moment of decision, you will ask your inner self, what would, whatever the teacher's name might have been, where would this person have gone to find an approach to an answer? My own studies covered a number of disciplines: arts, law, religion, history, education, and biblical languages. I was fortunate that at the same time as using my qualifications in the workforce, I kept a foot in academia and taught most of my subjects both here and at Sydney University, as well as at other tertiary institutions in 3 continents. What I taught at this university was Jewish law as a legal system. My teaching career, though secondary to my full-time work as a rabbi, embroiled me daily in one of the great dilemmas of the academic, that of whether and how far one's own views, biases, and commitments should come into the classroom and into interaction with students. This is an obvious concern when the teacher is a religious leader and the subject matter is an aspect of religion, but it applies in every field. It's not easy to put aside deep convictions for the supposed objectivity of academia. The dilemma is that there must be personality in teaching. We all know the jokes about teacher and class all staying away, but sending tape recorders to talk to each other. The human interaction of teacher and student gives life to the class, and part of that is the idiosyncrasies of the teacher. I had a lecturer who chain smoked in class and mesmerized us as the ash built up and hardly ever fell off. No wonder I remember his cigarettes, but not his teaching. The problem becomes serious when idiosyncrasies of commitment and opinion are advanced in ways which neglect, dismiss, or deride other options or opinions. It is exacerbated when other scholars are discredited because of where they come from, their creed, politics, personal history, or habits. How does the academic square all this with their scholarly conscience? And how ought a student respond to teacher prejudice? If a student challenges the teacher's biases, will this impact on examination results? Must a student tailor an essay or research project to what the teacher wants to hear? This is the advice I always gave my students. There is a range of interpretations. Say what you feel needs to be said, but back it up with sources and academic credibility. Despite my determination to be even-handed, occasionally a student could not be budged from their own preconceptions and felt I would not give them a fair hearing. At times, therefore, I asked a colleague to mark an essay because I knew the student did not believe I was capable of reading their work fairly. This is a concern in every discipline, but it's even more difficult when the subject is religion, which usually insists that its truths are absolute. For my part, I always made a distinction between the seminary and the university. The seminary is there to cultivate an ideology and commitment. The university stands for free inquiry and critical examination of texts and teachings. Not that this rules out the possibility of a religious university or a university under religious auspices. Such a university must be a university, but there is a significant difference. Professor Pinchas Churgin, founder of Bar Ilan University in Israel, was once asked what was the difference between Bar Ilan and any other university. He said, in other places they teach that 2 plus 2 makes 4. At Bar Ilan we teach that 2 plus 2, with the help of God, makes 4. Another approach was taken by Rabbi Joseph Kahaneman of Ponevezh, who said, other people's mathematics begins with naught. Our mathematics starts with 1. 1 with a capital O. Nice bon mot, but do they solve the underlying philosophical problem? How can a university be religious when religion sets limits to free inquiry? The answer is not as difficult as it seems. A religion which has an intellectual tradition sets no limits. In Yiddish, there is a phrase, frag nicht, don't ask. But frag nicht applies in the pragmatic sphere. Is a certain action permissible or not? In that sense, if you fear that the answer will be no, it may be better not to ask. In intellectual analysis, however, the use of human reason to ask and assess the range of answers is not only inexorable, it must be God-approved, since religious doctrine teaches that reason, like every faculty of the human being, is God-given and meant to be used. Free inquiry means the suspension of prejudgments. Another Yiddish phrase is, Es steht geschrieben. The text is clear. This too may be a pragmatic principle. May I disobey a commandment? You might want to look behind the commandments, but the quick answer is, Es steht geschrieben. But in intellectual matters, the mind cannot be stilled or stifled. Some things are outside the sphere of reason, but blind faith can neither see nor shed light. What then if intellectual rigor makes a person into an agnostic? William James, author of The Varieties of Religious Experience, argues that in matters of theory, it is possible to suspend judgment. But because religion is concerned with action, it forces you to decide. You can have your doubts, but you have to act, and abdicating is not an option. A Jewish sage went even further when he put into God's mouth the words, "Let them forget me, so long as they follow my Torah." A secular university, with its pluralism of theories and views, might not make you religious, but then again it might. It can have a negative effect on religious belief. It can also have a positive effect. In my case, the influence was positive. University education opened up for me the grandeur of the physical and moral world, the majesty of the human mind, the intricacy of systems and ideas. And I knew that, in Professor Hurgin's words, it was with the help of God. In contrast, ordinariness, banality, and profanity all trivialized the complexity of the universe. I spent countless hours in the religion sections of the Melbourne University Library and the State Library Victoria. I doubt whether any other student had ever requisitioned so many religion books from the stacks. I discovered that all knowledge was one body with innumerable interrelated facets. I discovered, too, that no field of human endeavor is without its religious influences, that no discipline can be studied without recognizing the religious component. True, from the Enlightenment until mid-20th century, religion lost credibility and declined as a subject of academic interest. Man was disillusioned with God. Faith had receded, religion was irrelevant, man was the master of all things. But the Second World War showed that man could be disillusioned with himself. If God had not saved civilization, neither had man. Man had perpetrated unbelievable depravities, and the evil ingenuity continues. No wonder Abraham Joshua Heschel said that the question was no longer, where is God, but where is man? Man now rediscovered religion and saw it as a means of protecting him from himself. At the same time, new academic developments brought studies of religion into education on all its levels. The new century has brought a new fear of religion. It is not only relevant, but dangerously so, with its 3 F's: fundamentalism, fixity, and finality. There is a tug of war between the moderates who believe in tolerance and dialogue and the absolutists who cannot allow space for others and their conscience, who have so little time for love, mercy, and compassion. I once gave a lecture which I entitled, "How My Mind Has Changed." Amongst other things, I said that my mind had changed about religion. I said I was no longer so sure that religion was a good thing, because as a moderate, I feared for a world in which religion was hijacked by fanatics. I must say that what gave me a modicum of comfort over the years was teaching my university classes, where I could analyze religious texts and say to students, our task is not to judge the material, but to listen to it. I apply these words to all the disciplines which have their place in academia. I apply them to those of you who graduate today. Take from the university not only the letters you now put after your names, not only the documents that testify to your new status, not only the skills you've learned and the thought of the scholars you have met and the friends you have made. Treasure all these things, but do not forget in all the years ahead that when you deal with people, issues, events, and situations, your task is not to judge, but to listen. And thank you for listening to me today. I hope you'll not judge me too unkindly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Apple, for such a thoughtful and always, as always, well-delivered piece. Let me say, though, there was a bit in the middle that caused me a bit of concern. We are, as you know, a law school that basically allows for people to discuss things and not by lecture. And when you said 2 + 2 = 4, I was scared you might open it up for discussion. I was sure those who have got their Bachelor of Laws today would probably say, well, let's check what the minority in the High Court said a few years ago. I'm positive that those who got their commerce degrees today would know that Australian accounting standards don't make 2 + 2 = 4. And I know that the master's students would get up and say, I think the planning authorities don't allow 4 floors. But ladies and gentlemen, I think it was a masterly piece, and thank you very much. And I now call upon our Vice-Chancellor to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chancellor. Of course, one of the great things about our graduations is that we can hear the wisdom of an eminent member of our society. We've been very privileged today to have a most eloquent, thought-provoking and inspiring address by a very great Australian, Rabbi Raymond Apple, and I hope you will all join with me in thanking him for this fine contribution to this graduation ceremony.